What is up, Waffle Gang? I do hope you are well. My name is Mark, and today we're checking out some r/Am I the Butthole? We're jumping straight into the good stuff today, so let's get straight involved. Much love, guys. This first story comes from OpenHeart826. Am I the arsehole for telling my mum she's just as bad as the people who leave fake tips? This happened yesterday, and my mum is saying I'm an arsehole because I didn't mind my own business. I don't think I'm in the wrong, but maybe I am. Yesterday my mum and I went out to a restaurant to get some dinner. We haven't been out to eat since pre-pandemic, so this was a treat for us. We got there before the dinner rush, so about 10 minutes after we sat and ordered, tons of people started turning up. One group was a family of 7. Parents, a teen girl, a preteen boy, 2 toddler girls, and a baby boy. They're taking up 2 tables to the left of us and started up instantly with the ruckus. Our waitress was swamped. Her whole section got filled in the span of 5 minutes, so I didn't blame her for being stretched thin. But the dad next to us was audibly complaining about the shit tier service. I heard him say, "I know how to get her attention," before we saw him pull out what I thought was a $20, but then I saw the other side of it and it was white with some text. I instantly knew what it was and was appalled. I watched him fold the 20 in half and tuck it under the ketchup. The waitress saw it too and brightened and was extra nice to them. I was disgusted because I was a server for 10 plus years, so I've had people pull that on me, and it's devastating to be paid pennies. And I think, oh, I'm getting a good tip, only to have the rug yanked out from under you with one of those fake money Bible verse pamphlets. I told my mum I was going to tell the waitress, but she said for me to mind my own business. I told her what they were doing was shitty, and despite her hushing, I waved the waitress over when my drink got low and gestured for her to lean in a bit before whispering that the 20 the table had out was fake. It was one of those pamphlets disguised as money. She looked stunned, but thanked me. Afterwards, it was pretty obvious that the table was getting the least amount of attention she could get away with giving them. She didn't ignore them, but they were definitely her absolute last priority. I guess they didn't like that and left ASAP, leaving the fake 20 there. And yeah, I saw it pick it up, check it, then toss it. I felt really bad for her. She was clearly busting her ass, so I gave her a really good tip, 3 times the usual amount I leave. On the ride home, my mum and I got into an argument. She was mad at me for being meddlesome in things that didn't concern me, but I think I did the right thing. I'd have wanted someone to tell me if I'd been in her shoes. I got mad and snapped that she was just as bad as the dick who thought leaving a Bible verse was adequate payment. She yelled for me to not raise my voice at her, but I said I wouldn't have if she'd been a decent person. But then my brother agreed with her, so now I'm at a loss. Was I the arsehole for snapping at my mum? Am I the arsehole? Now, I'll start off by saying I've never heard of this kind of fake tip thing before, Bible verse disguised as money. I thought, what is that? So I looked it up and I found this image and I thought, holy shit, that's disgusting. And as always, I know like the tipping culture and stuff in the US compared to the UK is completely different. So I'm basing this on a US point of view where sort of like the livings are made on tips, if that's the right thing to say. Hopefully you know what I mean though. And you're definitely not the arsehole for sticking up for this person who was clearly just being shafted with this disgusting behavior, isn't it, in the end? So absolutely not the arsehole, and we'll read some comments to see what they say. And Muffy Wright says, not the arsehole, and bless you for having that poor woman's back. I've never worked for tips, but I know what it feels like to be promised an award. Horseback ride for cleaning my room to mum's satisfaction, and get trash in return. Coin op horsey machine in front of Kmart. Bait and switch sucks. Wow, that's awful. Amadale 13 says, and quotes, she yelled at me to not raise my voice, and then says, oh, the irony. Not the arsehole, you did a good thing, but even if your mother disagrees, why is she meddling in things, as in your actions, that don't concern her? And Pamphlet Hamlet says, as a former server and just a decent human, thank you. You did the right thing, not the arsehole at all. The world needs more people like you, not meddlesome, but doing the right thing. They deserved it for having that kind of audacity. And EF says not the arsehole, telling her didn't just help the waitress, it helped every patron in her section. She was able to better balance her service. If you hadn't said anything, your service would have been slower while she catered to them. They would have gotten priority service while the real tipping customers got second best. She also would have lost tip money from every single table that felt ignored in favour of that group. Remind your mother that poor girl will be taxed on estimated tips, which means she actually paid money to serve that table. And oh my word, is that true that you actually get taxed on your estimated tips as well? Oh man, it just gets worse. And Kitsune says, not the arsehole, Bible verses disguised as money suck, especially when I found them in the donation box at the animal rescue I volunteer at. We use that donated money for things that aren't covered by government funding like toys, so animals can have more than just the basics of food, water, vet care and cages and kennels met. And OK Caster says, your mum is the arsehole. You're an all-star for doing that waitress a solid. Source, worked shitty tip jobs for years. And Glory says, not the arsehole, you didn't have to, but you did her a solid. The non-tipper reaped what he sowed. Your mum and brother are free to mind their own business. Now, what do you guys think of this one? And I can't believe that whole Bible verse disguised as money as well. Unbelievable. Let me know your thoughts in the comments below and we'll move on to the next one. And our next story comes from a throwaway account. Am I the arsehole for shaming my mother-in-law in front of the whole family for spreading lies about me? My husband and I don't want kids. He'd gotten a vasectomy even before I dated him and I wanted to be child-free, so we both knew it's never going to happen. She didn't know that my husband has gotten a vasectomy and believes that it's me who is not giving her grandchildren, so she hated me. When I got married, she wrote this whole letter about how she can't wait for us to be parents and read it out loud during our reception. She would cry on the phone with my sister-in-law about how I'm the worst thing that has ever happened to her. She would make racist Facebook posts targeted at me because I'm Asian and my husband is white. There have been times she would introduce my husband to different women when he's already married to me and would tell him that he deserves better. 3 days ago, I was at a family gathering. I never really attended family gatherings because my mother-in-law is present there, but it has been a long time since I met his family. When I was just talking to my husband's aunt, she casually says, I'm sorry that you can't experience motherhood. How does, my husband's name, feel about it? I asked her what it was she was talking about. She tells me that my mother-in-law has been going around telling everyone in the family group chat that I'm infertile, and I honestly lost my mind. I went up to mother-in-law and asked her about it. She told me that she didn't want to tell everyone that my husband is less of a man because he got a vasectomy done and thought it was better to tell everyone I was infertile. I started to scream at her. Everybody in the room started telling me that I shouldn't be ashamed because I'm infertile. They thought I was shifting the blame on my husband when I'm infertile. And I revealed the truth because I was not infertile. I told everyone about my mother-in-law was spreading lies because she didn't want her son to be less of a man. I told everyone about her introducing my husband to different women because she wanted to replace me and is openly racist towards me. My brother-in-law calmed me down because I was bawling my eyes out and called my husband, asking him to come home. My husband came home, his mother was crying, telling him that I ruined her reputation. She tells him how I'm trying to make him hate her. My husband took my side. He told her that it was the last time he'd be stepping into the house and he's going to cut ties with her. We left the house. My husband thinks that I did the right thing, standing up for myself. I've been getting text messages from his relatives about how I broke a mother and son's relationship. My mother-in-law is making posts about me on Facebook. I know I could have handled it better, but am I the arsehole? Edit, I would like to clear up 2 things because I'm being asked about it. 1, when my mother-in-law gave the speech during my reception, that's when my husband told her about his vasectomy. 2, my husband didn't attend the gathering with me because the next day was my birthday and he was planning a surprise for me. 3, some people pointed it out that I shouldn't have lashed out at a family gathering, which is absolutely right. I feel bad for it and I know I could have handled it better. Thank you so much for the replies. Now, there's a couple of things in this one that were jumping out to me, and I was kind of disappointed that the husband wasn't sticking up for, OP a bit earlier in the situation, but I don't know, there might have been more to that I don't know about. And he has come through in the end and cut contact, which was the right thing to do, so kudos there, I guess. But it just feels like, and again, we don't know the full situation and what it was like for him growing up. It could be a difficult situation, so sometimes it can be very, very difficult in these family dynamics. But it was the racist remarks, spreading lies and introducing him to other women as well. I just feel like the husband should have stamped down on this a bit sooner. But again, it sounds like the it's being dealt with now, which is a good thing. And I kind of never understand. I'm trying to work out the logic like mother-in-law was coming from. Almost like demanding grandchildren and like, when am I going to get my grandchildren kind of thing. I don't understand how anyone can have that logic. I don't think I would ever, like personally, ever be able to approach someone and sort of say, when you're having kids or that sort of thing, because you don't know what's going on in people's personal lives. And it's a very, very personal thing, isn't it? So to assume like, oh, you're going to be having kids soon, are you? It can be a very hurtful thing to say, and I never understand how people don't think about this before bringing it up. And I might be wrong in saying that, because it could be like about talking about when you're having children and stuff can be part of everyday conversations, but it always pops into my head, and this is a very personal thing to me, like it always pops into my head when I'm thinking like asking a friend or something, are they going to have kids or anything like that. I always think to myself beforehand, ooh, should I ask that just in case? Because you never know what might be going on, there might be a reason why they haven't had kids already. Just things that pop into my head. Totally random, I know. But we'll move on to some comments to see what they say. But Piet Pompey 7 says, not the arsehole. Seems that the mother has an unhealthy obsession with grandchildren and is a bit of an unpleasant person. I'd recommend adoption for her if she really wants children. And Monkey Magic says, not the arsehole, and kudos to your husband for standing up to his family for you. Maybe your mother-in-law will learn her lesson someday, but it seems she is not willing to. You have to keep yourself safe from such shockingly negative influences. And Lavington Windsor says, she played the stupid game, she won the stupid jackpot. It was great your hubby is being supportive. He doesn't think you're an arsehole here, and neither do we. Look, your mother-in-law lied and schemed and connived against you, and she is reaping what she sowed. Stand tall. I'm sorry you had to go through that, but you can now cut her out of your day-to-day life, and it will be all the better for it. And a regular fit says, not the arsehole. Everyone has a limit, and you reached yours. Your mother-in-law is a dreadful person, and well done to you for advocating yourself and your husband for firmly being on your side. The lies she told were awful, the racism directed at you equally so. You have not broken up her relationship with her son, she has done that. The best thing to do in my opinion is disengage from them all. The people who are sending messages, block them all on social media, block their numbers, have a good talk with your husband on the limits you now need to set with his extended family. Make sure you're on the same page. Do not feel guilty about this. You have a right to peace, to not be bullied and lied about. Keep her firmly at a distance and do not let her back in. You will find how much easier you breathe without someone so toxic in your life. Good luck. And we'll have one more from Invisible saying, not the arsehole. It's ridiculous that your husband didn't stand up to her sooner, but I guess better late than never. You did the right thing by defending yourself and exposing her. Now, I turn this one to you guys. What would you do in this situation? Let me know your thoughts below and we'll move on to the next story. And our next story comes from Diet. Am I the arsehole for wanting Father's Day to myself? Between work, bills, and making sure my wife and son's 5-year-old needs are met, I'm sure I can't be the only dad that wished on Father's Day they can take their mind off things like chores, errands, social obligations, problem solving, and maybe even beating a level in a game your son's screaming over and on the verge of tears. Move over, little one, let me handle this for you. My wife 30 and I 28, been together for 6 years. I have my own business and my hours are 4 AM till 12, so I have a lot of family time. I'm not much of a holiday person, so not getting gifts and whatnot doesn't really bother me or even celebrating it at all. My wife and her family is the opposite. Every holiday or special occasion deserves a family barbecue or cookout. We live very close, about 30 minutes give or take, so we are at my mother-in-law's pretty often. Here's the problem. My son woke us up at 7 AM on the dot. Got the cuddles and happy Father's Day greetings. Life is great. Wife asked what I want to do, and me being an introvert, I need a recharge, and what a perfect day to do it. After breakfast, which is around 9, wife gets a call without fail. My mother-in-law filled a day of having us over. My wife, knowing that I'll be upset, still agreed to go over. Me, being the highly trained diplomat but slightly annoyed, begrudgingly agreed to go, knowing full well how the day would go. Every family gathering consists of greeting and then everybody goes back to their room or go on their phone until food's ready. I usually don't have a problem with it, and I don't have a problem with her staying and celebrating her dad, but being a dad also, I had other ideas. 6 hours in of doing nothing but sitting on the couch, Netflix surfing with her family, which is around 4 PM. My boredom and patience ran out. I had enough and just walked out, drove home, grabbed my gym bag and played some pickup at the local 24. Ended the night playing video games with friends in peace with a beer on my side. Of course, I wouldn't be here without a bunch of missed calls / texts from being at the gym and my wife saying I'm being disrespectful. So, am I the arsehole? And I got to admit, and I may be the arsehole for it myself, I was kind of with OP most of the way through this. I was like, yeah, OP asked that they wanted this quiet time to themselves and they're introverted and they wanted some time to themselves. And then wife came along and she accepted to go around mother-in-law's to see her father too, which is fine, but she should have checked with OP to begin with if that was okay with him rather than just assume he will go as well. So I think the wife does suck there slightly for me. But then just while sat in there, you said something clicked and you just got up and walked out. And I think, and I hate to say it as well, that does make you the arsehole. Not for wanting some time to yourself. You're absolutely not the arsehole for that. But for just getting up and walking out, you know, you're a big boy. You can use your words. You can say, look, I'm going to go and have some time to myself. I hope you don't mind. I just need a bit of a chill out. I hope that's okay. Simple as that, you know. Rather than just get up and, you know, people all around you might be worried about you, where you went, what happened, why did you just get up and suddenly leave, especially if this is unusual behaviour as well. All sorts of things could be going on, so I think that would make you slightly the arsehole for that, but definitely not the arsehole for wanting a bit of alone time either. I totally get that. So I'm going to go with a potentially controversial, I know. Everyone sucks here. And we'll start with Crazy Cat 77 saying, you walked out without a word, took the car keys and ignore your wife's attempts to find out what was wrong. Yes, you were disrespectful, not to mention childish. You're an adult. If you don't want to do something, say so. Don't act like a stroppy teenager. You're the arsehole. And Crispy Dragon Rider says, everyone sucks here. You told your wife you wanted a quiet day. When your mother-in-law called, your wife should have at least asked you if you wanted to go before accepting. That she just accepted for the both of you was an arsehole thing to do. You, however, should have just said something right then and should have gone to your in-laws. You let your wife walk all over you and then you got mad hours later and walked out without a word. That was an even bigger arsehole move because you purposely made her worry about you. You and your wife need to communicate better. And Webby Vanderquack says, I haven't seen that name in a while, you're the arsehole. Walking out was incredibly rude. Father's Day isn't just for you, it's for other people's fathers, and it's for people who want to celebrate their fathers. You were extraordinarily selfish. And quotes, me being the highly trained diplomat. And then says, who trained you? A diplomat would have had a conversation with their wife. And Left Steak says, you're the arsehole. You don't get to stop having a family just because it's Father's Day. Mother's and Father's Day are family-oriented holidays, and walking out on them just because you want to play video games and drink beer is ridiculous. How about you actually communicate with your wife and plan yourself a day to relax alone and tell her about your plans, instead of just hoping she'll leave you alone and then walking out when she doesn't. Now, what are your thoughts on this one? Do you think OP is the arsehole for wanting a day for themselves and for walking out as well? Let me know your thoughts in the comments below and we'll move on to the next one. And this story is from Wedding Dramas. Am I the arsehole for letting my 14-year-old wear flip-flops when the bride requested heels? My daughter 14 was invited to be a bridesmaid in my niece's wedding last minute. One of the bridesmaids backed out and they needed a replacement to make it even. Everyone was instructed to wear silver heels. My daughter has never worn heels but agreed to try for the wedding. The night before the wedding, my daughter goes to the wedding location, backyard of my aunt's house where we were staying, and tests her walking in heels. The aisle is a DIY job of brick done by my aunt many years ago. Not stable or easy to walk on, especially in heels. My daughter starts freaking out because she can't walk on it, but I assure her she just needs to practice. The day of the wedding comes and she's near panic attack and begs me to wear her flip-flops. They are a basic pair of Old Navy flip-flops, but they are silver. I finally give in and say yeah, it's probably safest and will avoid her falling in front of everyone. Wedding goes on, all is good, until the pictures come back and the bride realises my daughter is in flip-flops in the pics of her walking down the aisle. You can't tell she's wearing flip-flops in the formal pics where she's standing still because her dress covers them. She texts me demanding explanations, but she didn't like what I had to say. She's clearly upset with us and I'm just wondering if I did something really wrong letting my daughter wear the flip-flops. And we're going to start straight away on this one with an illustrious Egg 12 saying you're the arsehole because when she realised she couldn't walk in them, the bride should have been consulted. Flats would have been perfectly fine replacement, I'm sure. Flip-flops, not so much. And Kalern says, soft, you're the arsehole. I would consider those Old Navy flip-flops to be shower shoes, definitely not appropriate for a wedding, especially for a member of the bridal party. When your daughter realised she couldn't walk down the aisle in her heels, you should have brought her some nice silver flats that were wedding appropriate. And Webby Vanderquack says, you're the arsehole. She didn't have to wear heels. But Old Navy flip-flops, that was disrespectful. You could have easily brought a pair of cheap silver ballet flats, even last minute. And Twirly Girly says, you're the arsehole. I'm sorry, but as soon as you knew your daughter wasn't confident she'd be able to walk gracefully in heels, I think you should have hopped in your car and picked up a pair of simple ballet flats. Silver if possible. White if you couldn't find silver. You should have contacted the bride and told her what the problem was and have two solutions you had, the silver flip-flops or the ballet flats, and let her decide. I would have presented it to the bride as, daughter tripping and falling as she walks down the aisle will be a lot more obvious and memorable to the guests than her wearing different footwear than the other bridesmaids. So which would you prefer her to wear? Also, if the bride had known about it in advance, she could have told the photographer to make sure none of the pictures including your daughter's footwear, since that's what seems to be gotten the bride upset. Now, what would you do in this situation? Is this something that you would find yourself getting upset over? Let me know your thoughts in the comments below and your thoughts on all of today's stories if you have a moment of your day to share them. A huge thank you from the bottom of my heart for getting involved in today's stories and being involved in the channel. The last couple of weeks have been absolutely amazing. I know I've been a bit quiet, but I told the member side of the channel before, but I'm going full-time YouTube in so I got about 5 days left. Next Wednesday will be my last day working full-time with this other company, and then I'm diving into this whole YouTube side of things. So pretty scary stuff, and what you're doing just recently and, you know, being involved with the channel constantly is making huge differences to my confidence in what we actually do. So thank you so much for your love, your support and your time, and I am just so thankful. Much love, guys.